just try to accept the fact that you like watching movies and that you like watching TV shows. If you think about it, Martin Scorsese probably really likes watching movies too. Today's video is going to be about rebuilding your life from the ground up if you are anxious and depressed. I am speaking from personal experience, and honestly today I feel pretty anxious, but I'm going to film this video and do it anxious. So what do I mean by rebuilding your life from the ground up? So I've had like 5 to 6 therapists in the past 2 to 3 years. I know that sounds excessive, but some of these therapists I meet with them like once or twice and then I realize it's not a fit. Others I've had for longer, like 6 months. So the therapist I'm with right now is actually quite good. I really love her. But whenever I start with a new therapist and I come to them about anxiety or depression, usually within the first 1 or 2 sessions, they will usually ask me, what do I like to do for fun, or what do I like to do for pleasure? What activities do I derive joy from? Something like that. And I would often get uncomfortable with this question because when I'm in my low or depressed state, usually the answer is not much. I felt like this question was like very heavy, or it like made me somewhat uncomfortable. And I felt like I didn't really have a good answer, or my answers weren't truthful, because the fact was that I didn't really derive much joy from many things. So the first point that I want to make is that I see a lot of, self-help advice or creators saying things like, oh, I just went to the gym every day and I worked out and suddenly I got out of this hole that I was in. I'm like, bruh, how do I do that? I'm not even able to sit at my desk, and I'm not joking. Like, it was physically hard for me to be at my desk every day. How can I be expected to adopt this new routine all of a sudden? And even things like, I would just wake up every morning and try to replace my thoughts with positive ones. It's like, that's also very hard to do if you don't have the mental capacity to do that. So I think this video is sort of maybe what I would say to myself if I was in that state. And I am still sort of working through it myself, but this is just some advice that I have for me, being that I am me. So this video is to try to answer that question. What do you like to do when you're in that low vibrational state of anxiety or depression? So the first advice that I would have for myself is sometimes you don't even realize what you like to do. And I know this sounds kind of dumb, but like when you're kind of in that mind hole where you're just like in your thoughts over and over again and you're sort of cycling through the same thought patterns over and over again, you actually don't really know or realize that you like to do some things. So I actually really love to journal, but I never really accepted that fact. And it was only recently when I've sort of come out of this lower mental state that I looked and I saw that I had filled like 5 to 6 full journals of just like stream of consciousness. And I was like, oh, hey, like maybe I like to journal. I know that sounds really dumb, but I honestly did not really process that I really love to write and I really love to journal. And I think one of the reasons is because I didn't really think of journaling as like a valid hobby, because I always had this thought that, hobbies had to be about skill or like had to be something like pottery or sports. I mean, I do love tennis, but there's definitely like higher effort hobbies and then lower effort hobbies. So if I were starting out with this question, just try to understand what low level hobbies you really like. It can be cooking, it can be literally anything. It could be making your cup of coffee in the morning, just anything that you derive any sense of joy from. Like if this is your baseline, let's say, like this is flatline, if like any activity in your day makes it go like this, like write that down and try to be aware of that, and try not to overthink too much about labeling things that you derive pleasure from as a hobby. Because I think often the word hobby has like a lot of heaviness or implications that you might not want to burden yourself with. For example, I often overthink things and, feel like if I say that, oh, I really like doing this or that, then there's this connotation that you have to be consistently doing that, or you have to be good at doing that or at a certain level if you enjoy doing things. But you can be really, really bad at writing, or you can be really bad at doing anything, but still derive joy from that. So that's number one. Okay. Number two advice to try to answer that question is to try to think of things that you like doing as a kid. I, for one, really love to read and I love to journal, like I said. And I also really like to dance and play tennis when I was younger. And the thing is that it's okay if you haven't done these things since you were a child or when you were a lot younger. It doesn't matter if you haven't done this activity for 10 years. I would suggest just trying to pick it back up again and see how it feels, just to experiment and see what happens. During the pandemic, I picked back up journaling. I used to do it, casually here and there, but I've been doing it consistently for 5 years now. And I remember doing it more as a kid, but it was only when I had some more space or more time during lockdown that I was able to pick that hobby back up again. If you can't remember what you like doing as a kid, maybe also try to remember what you like doing during the pandemic or lockdown. I know that seems like maybe a whole life ago. If the answer is like, oh, well, I just like to watch movies or TV or play video games, that's a totally valid answer. So just accept that and don't be like, hey, this isn't a valid thing to derive joy from. Just be like, hey, I like this and this is what I like. And also try not to attach external strings to said thing and say, oh, me liking those things kind of just makes me sound like I'm a lazy person and I just, I'm a couch potato and I just want to be in front of a screen all day. Just try to accept the fact that you like watching movies and that you like watching TV shows. It's like, if you think about it, like Martin Scorsese, probably really likes watching movies too. My advice for when you're doing those sort of activities, just be 100% present. Try to be as aware as possible and be conscious of how you're feeling, your thoughts and your emotions while you're doing that activity. Because I, for one, was asked one time, what do you do when you want to wind down or when you are trying to relax? And I said, I like to watch Netflix, I like to watch movies and TV shows. And then the follow-up question to that was, well, do you feel like you're relaxed when you're doing that? And the honest answer was no. I feel like my thoughts are racing. I still feel this feeling of anxiety even when I'm doing that activity. So the lesson here is to just, even if you're doing those activities, be very aware of what you're feeling and the thoughts that go into that. And if you're still feeling very anxious while you're doing those things, you can learn something from that and see where that takes you. So yeah, that's my video for today. I feel like that's where I would start if you have this burden of trying to find what joy there is to life. And I feel very anxious today, but I wanted to make this video. Okay, yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.